Hi, I'm Zizix, and welcome back to my channel where I literally do whatever I want. Today, we're going to be talking about Joshua Kiryu because I can't stop talking about Joshua Kiryu. I can't stop thinking of this stupid character, and I'm riding on the neo-twewy hype train. So, we're gonna get right into this, completely unstructured, and also, do you remember the last video I did? Not the last video I did. Remember the last video I actually did? The only video I actually did where I apologized for the sound quality? Well, I'm just gonna be sitting here recording this on my phone. So you'll have to deal with the degradation of that, I guess. Here we go. There's going to be spoilers for literally anything twewy related, including the neo-twewy demo, but not the whole neo-twewy game, because apparently some people are able to play that early due to an error on Square's part. Good luck avoiding spoilers, but you won't find those here, at least. Okay. Where do we start with Joshua? I have a bullet point list right here. Bullet point, because yeah. So let's talk about the secret ending, because that's existed for like ever. That's existed since twewy, and what was it getting at? What was that secret ending getting at? What was the point of it? I guess I don't know what secret endings usually get at, like, trying to think of, I mean, it's still Square games, so maybe, like, Kingdom Hearts is a good enough reference for that, but, like, why do people usually do secret endings and stuff? It's like, what extra insight was that really, were we really gleaning from that? Was it sequel bait? Because, obviously, we're only getting that now, so I don't know if it would remain relevant as sequel bait if it's been this many years, or if they even have, like, the same ideas that they would have used back then. I'm sure they held on to, like, a great deal of them, because, like, the team said that they, like, they already wanted to do a twewy sequel after they had finished twewy, but, like, they couldn't. I guess because it didn't sell so well in Japan. Not nearly as good as it did internationally. So some ideas probably still carry over, but times are different, man. Like, times are different, and Joshua has a fucking smartphone in the anime, and I understand, but I'm so sad about it because he's so much sassier with a stupid orange little flip phone, and that's the pinnacle of twewy aesthetic to me. Is just like, if someone fights with a stuffed animal, someone fights with their skateboard, this is what they're psychically connected to. These are this fucking psychopomp character fights with a flip phone. He summons beams of holy light down from the sky with a flip phone. And he doesn't do that at all in the anime. That's so disappointing. He doesn't do that at all in the anime with his phone. And he doesn't, like, T-pose Jesus beam either. He just, like, he's way more active in the anime. Like, in the game, there's this emphasis on, like, I don't really do the sweating thing, Neku, he says. And then, like, literally a second later, that's when the taboo noise shows up. So Joshua was like, I don't really do the sweating thing, Neku. And then taboo shows up, and he's like, what the hell is that? But the point being is, he's not very active and stuff, okay? He barely moves. He does not jump like the other characters. He'll just sidestep out of the way when you're controlling him until he's able to levitate above all of the other enemies. He's a lazy guy, is what I'm saying. He became much more action-oriented in the anime. I guess out of necessity, because it's like the only time we see that is when he's going to kill Neku. Or, I guess, stave off Minamimoto in that precise instance, because, you know, him running up to Neku and shooting him was a fake out. He was running up and shooting Minamimoto, who was hell-bent on trying to kill him in the UG, because he thought he could kill him in the RG, because he thought he could kill him in the RG, but he could not kill him in the RG. I don't know if you heard my roommate. I'm just sitting here and going. What was I talking about? The secret ending. The secret ending, that's weird. Was that meant to be sequel bait? And what were they getting out with that? Because Joshua was looking down on the rest of the group, right? Like he's forlorn or unhappy about something. Except they changed that in the secret ending. That's weird too. Why did they change that in the secret ending? So we have the secret ending, and I'm not entirely sure what it's meant to impart. Except that, you know, both of them are gonna have to do with something related to the higher plane. Like, you know, Hanakoma, he's got his big, we can see his big angel wings and stuff, because we just found out he was the fallen angel from the secret reports if you, like, got all of the secret reports and therefore got that secret ending. And then Joshua goes up in a twinkle of light as well. He's not really a beam, just like a ball. He's one of those orbs, I guess. Look for them on your camera. And study them. Ghosts. I'm losing the point of what I was getting with secret ending. The point being, though, is that, like, Hanekoma says that, like, he alludes to the fact that, like, the people upstairs aren't going to be happy about something, you know, or that there would be repercussions. That there would be repercussions upstairs, and, like, what kind of repercussions would that even be? Are we going to see that in Neo Twewy? Because would that at all be related to the inversion that seems to be going on? What exactly was the inversion? God, I have so many thoughts. But I was thinking, right, like, so Joshua planned to destroy Shibuya initially, but he didn't, or the higher plane didn't intervene at all. Hanekoma alludes in the secret report that, like, they're not allowed to, or they may not, at least. Like, it's just a rule for them not to. And that they don't particularly want Shibuya destroyed, but if it's not a rule of theirs to interfere with this kind of scenario, then, like, what repercussions would they have upstairs? Because the way it seems that in the secret reports, Hanekoma describes their keen interest in the fate of Shibuya as something like it feels like they're just sitting back and watching with popcorn. Like, watching with popcorn or something, just kind of keenly interested in seeing what would happen, and that he puts out this sentiment that the higher plane would be disappointed if the game was interfered with, so they're, like, interested in the show, it seems like, which gives the impression it's like it was well within Joshua's right to destroy the UG or Shibuya, even if that would not be their preference. So what repercussions would there be? And I was thinking, like, okay, it feels like Joshua technically was allowed to do that, even though it's destroying a whole place, because he decided it. Oh my god. So I was thinking, what exactly would that entail? What would that entail for Joshua? Because they were... What I'm getting at is that they were interested in the result of the game he had going on with Kitaniji. But then he won and then didn't destroy Shibuya. And I have to assume that if Joshua was well within his right to destroy Shibuya then and then didn't, that's what the higher plane would be disappointed in? Or that's what the repercussions would revolve around, and they would be disappointed in it. Because they weren't willing to interfere. They didn't care about enough to be willing to interfere, except for Hanekoma, who was willing to become a fallen angel to do that. So, did Joshua, like, change his mind last minute, not destroy Shibuya, and then get in trouble for not destroying Shibuya? Or, like, reviving, like, Rhyme, I guess. No, anybody actually. Anybody there could have technically lost the game. I was thinking, like, Neku won the game several times. He's just fine to revive him. No, he lost Joshua's last game. Joshua should have raised him too, but he didn't. Is there trouble because he just decided not to? Because he, like, decided, oh, people can change, and decided not to? That's a little fucked up. I hope not, but, like, that'd be interesting if so, I guess. Otherwise, I don't know what that secret ending was meant to impart and stuff. Like, it was just, like, interestingly vague. I guess that's how secret endings are meant to be, probably. I might be revealing exactly how many video games I've played to completion by saying that. But nonetheless, what else did I want to talk about? I want to talk about how weird Kitaniji is. Do you know how fucking weird Kitaniji is? Like, I know he's not aware of who Joshua is until he sees Joshua on the final day. it feels super weird that he, like, worships the composer the way that he does. Nobody else does that. Is that normal for conductors? Why does he do that? I might be thinking too hard about this. I'm almost certainly thinking too hard about this, but it's like, it feels very, very strange for him to be worshipping this teenage boy and probably not really realize that he is, but, like, his sheer reverence. Oh, what's the word for that again? A zealot? A zealot. It's very strange. What kind of character was it? Why were they going for that? I guess the point being is that, like, oh, he's a little fucked up because he was willing to, like, you know, dismantle individuality to save Shibuya, even though, like, what would even be the point of saving Shibuya at that point be? But yeah, it's like, Joshua's like, he's like 15, and, like, they just let this happen where a 15-year-old is the god of Shibuya. Actually, can we talk about, okay, why do people assume that Joshua is, like, way older than 15, actually? We don't have actual proof of that one way or the other, but, like, I don't see why people assume that so frequently in fanon anyway. Because I know that, oh, no, I guess I do know why people assume that, but it doesn't seem like enough to me. The pamphlet, for instance, like, I never got twewy when it was first released, but I read the details online, of course, about, like, the little character snippets they would have written in the pamphlet next to the actual game cartridge in the box you bought it with. Things I never got, I just got twewy. Used in a little cartridge at GameStop. I think it was GameStop. It was probably GameStop. What other, like, pre-owned video game stores exist nowadays? Very few. And what Joshua's snippet says, it's like, something like, he's obviously wiser than his 15 years, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, it says he's 15, and I can see why people would think that would allude to him actually being older than 15, but none of his behavior actually seems like that. He just seems like a weird kid. He just seems like a weird 15-year-old. And then you look at his composer form and stuff, right? And it's like, well, I mean, why is he so tall? Why does he look like an adult and stuff? But, like, why does he look like 15 when he's down-tuned? And you could say that just, like, well, you could assume that, like, it's because that's the age he died at. But why would his composer form also not be the age he died at? Is it his actual age? What, are we sure? Why would it be? We just don't know enough about it to, like, say one or the other. So, we don't know about that, but I do think that it would be a lot weirder thematically if Joshua was not also 15 like the rest of the characters you can play as in twewy. Because it wouldn't literally be impossible, but it would be thematically weird, because twewy is a game for emo teenagers. That's just, like, it's basically what it is. It's a game made primarily for emo teenagers. And so that is reflected in you playing Neku, and possibly connecting to Neku, or going, wow, this guy's such a dipshit. But you play as Neku and stuff, and ideally you're an emo teenager when you do. And you play the game, and you connect to the characters and you learn something. This is something that people went through. People have actually gone through this kind of development because they played twewy and they expanded their horizons, and it was very touching. And this is why so many people love the game to this day. But it's precisely because of that kind of thing where it's like, it'd be really weird if Joshua wasn't also 15 like the other characters, because he's like a foil to Neku almost, or like reflects his initial worldview and stuff, and then contrasts to as he starts to grow. And that's a strange, like, kind of investment to have in two characters relating to each other when they're not of the same general development in their lives. So it's like, I feel like Joshua has to either be 15 or effectively 15, you know? Also just the fact that, like, he picked Neku. he picked Neku in the first place. That'd be really weird if he was not also 15, because, like, what, like, person who is not a teenager looks at another teenager and is like, oh yes, I will pick you for my death game, not only because you are have an extremely powerful imagination, but also because I relate to you, and you're an example of the worst kind of person in Shibuya. No, I'm not going to assume this is a phase. What? What if, like, generally adult person does that? No. Everything about Joshua's whole thing actually just, like, reeks like just shitty teenagers starting at philosophy to me. Like, why would he jump into this whole, like, can people even really change, and we're gonna poison the rest of the world, I guess, with our negativity, if he wasn't, like, a shitty 15-year-old who would jump to those kind of solutions. But I guess that's just the way I've always seen it. Joshua's character to me is very much just, he's also just a shitty 15-year-old. They're all just shitty 15-year-olds. Okay, Shiki's not a shitty 15-year-old. He's not really a shitty 15-year-old either. It's just now Joshua's a shitty 15-year-old. Oh, man. So yeah, because it's a story for teenagers, essentially, and because Joshua picks Neku, because he, like, is like-minded to him, essentially, it's very strange for me, the idea that Joshua is much older than 15, like, not actually effectively 15. The other thing, too, is that people seem to assume that, like, because he and Hanekoma go way back, that, like, means, like, way back for Hanekoma too, and not just Joshua, because way back for a 15-year-old would be, like, 5 years or something. Knowing someone for a long time is, like, 5 years for a 15-year-old. Also Hanekoma, he calls him kid. I don't know if that's a product of specifically the localization. I guess it could be. If anybody knows, tell me. I'm interested in that stuff. But, like, Hanekoma calls Joshua kid. And that's not something you do with, like, someone who's, like, secretly a peer of yours. And you also wouldn't call someone not a bad kid if it was only that their station was lower than you. I don't know, to me it just seems like Joshua's, like, a weird kid who likes history and strange food. He's the only one who likes a sink bar. Who the fuck likes the sink bar? That's another thing. Why is Joshua older in Neo? Like...
Yeah.
Thank you.
What? Oh, I thought you were talking to me. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I thought you were just immediately going in on a rant to me. I forgot. I'll be quiet.
Yeah, you're fine. But, like, yeah, why is Joshua older in Neo? Like, why would he be older in Neo if it's, like, if he doesn't, like, age, like, normal? Of course, I guess, I don't know proper if, like, Neo is in the same universe even as the original twewy, especially because the final remix version isn't, you know, but, like, why would he's older? Why did he age? Maybe it's related to the fact that, like, we don't know if he's still the composer. Is he still the composer of Shibuya in this game? I have no idea. Because why are things being run this way if he is? Like, what's going on? So, like, it could have something to do with him not being the composer anymore, potentially. I have no idea. Because otherwise it's like, either no, because when he's down-tuned, he looks 15. If he were unaging down-tuned, then he would probably remain looking that way. But if he was, for instance, tuned to the underground when he ran into... Oh, spoilers for the demo, I guess. But, like, I'm pretty fucking sure that's Joshua who handed Fret and Rindo back the pins. Like, well, the single pin that Fret threw to Rindo. God. I'm fairly certain that's Joshua. So if he was tuned into the RG and he was, like, only looking 15 because he was down tuned, then he would still be looking down 15 while down tuned. If he was tuned into the UG, then why is he not, like, you know, crazy glowy composer form? Except, of course, unless he's no longer the composer. But I still doubt that would be the only answer. Probably we're not really going to get an answer either way. I just still think it would be really weird if he were not effectively 15 and appear to Neku and the rest of his friends in that way. I'm kind of hoping that they don't do some confirmation that, like, he's, like, fucking, like, 100 years old or something, because that'd be very strange to me. That would retroactively make his character a lot weirder to me, so I hope they don't necessarily do something like that. But I have no idea what's going on with Joshua in this. Is he even the composer? What the fuck is happening? You know what, though, regardless, I hope he's less suicidal in this game. Can we talk about how suicidal Joshua is? Because you don't... Well, first of all, it seems implied, this is not known for a fact, but, like, the way Hanekoma phrases it in the secret reports about the composer having changed, and so Shibuya did too, it seems to me that, like, destroying Shibuya would involve destroying the composer. Like, if the composer was gone and nobody was there to replace him. That's not something that's a given fact. But you think about it a little bit and you're like, how was he going to destroy Shibuya? Or Shibuya? People pronounce the enunciation a little differently. Because I guess we'll find out in Neo, probably. We're probably going to find out a little bit what Joshua was talking about, right? Because the Shibuya's under threat again. And ideally we understand more what it would actually entail to destroy a place like that, because it happened to Shinjuku too. But yeah, it's just, I'm of the mind that, like, destroying Shibuya would have costed Joshua something. And that in relation to, like, the way he talks about playing the game during his week to Neku, almost as if, like, even though he's under the pretense, of course, that he's, like, playing for the first time, and obviously he's lying to Neku about a lot of stuff, when he talks about, like, how he'd prefer being in the underground than the RG, it very much gives the impression that, like, something about that was very sincere from Joshua. Probably just because of how miffed he looked when he was saying it. Not that he's not a pretty good liar, I guess, but he seems like the kind of person to use, like, double meanings in that way. Also, overall, you just don't hand someone who has the right to hate you a gun if you're not a little suicidal. So, hey, bitch, I hope you're doing not that this time. I hope you're doing better.
Get therapy, bitch.
Get therapy, bitch. I got therapy. It's better. Usually. Oh, wait, no, actually, okay, other thing, though, is that, like, the thing about... I don't know if Joshua would want to get therapy, because everybody told him he was crazy. If we're to believe what he and Mr. Hanekoma says, Joshua was always able to see the underground from the RG. And, I mean, I don't know, but I'm under the impression that Japan is, like, not nice about those kinds of mental health problems. That combined with the fact that, like, he was very literally seeing other things that other people could see, just on a different plane of reality. I don't know, actually. I don't know that he would go get therapy. I don't know if they'd be good to him. That's probably a bigger discussion, though. Why did Yoshia happen? Do you remember A New Day? Why was it that Coco's recreation of Joshua was like this, like, this scaredy cat, like, awkward, what would you even call that? He didn't go by Josh, it was just by Yoshia, and it was like the weirdest fucking thing, seeing all those sprites edited to look like he was like mild-mannered or just like jumpy and otherwise like actually fairly normal. Well, I say normal. He did offer to read them poetry, I think. Where did that come from? I understand that this recreation of Shibuya was weird, but why was Joshua so weird? Coco, what did you do? That's another thing. Literally, what is Joshua up to if he's not the composer? Because, like, I mean, he could still be, I guess, but, like, literally what's going on? If he's not still the composer, is he just, like, crashing with Hanekoma? Does he have a place to live that is a dead god's pad? Because he didn't seem to know a lot of people when he was composer. Like, I literally, he was only allowed to interact with 2 people, which, by the way, that sounds incredibly isolating. To know, like, 2 people, to know one person who is directly your subordinate and worships you, and one person who is directly your superior and is Hanekoma. You know what I mean if you're a twewy fan. They're Hanekoma. But, like, he literally only was able to interact with, like, those 2 people, it seems like. If he down-tuned himself, I mean, I guess maybe he did down-tune himself a little bit, but, like, Shomini Momoto was able to, like, figure out who he was, or he was told who he was, which means that down-tuning for Joshua probably comes with some other... It's, like, it's risky. Probably risky. But, like, actually, you know, all of this was to get to the point that, like, oh, maybe Joshua, like, knew some other people, but, like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. Because he's like Neku and he didn't have any fucking friends. So, like, what is he up to? Where is he staying? Like, what's he doing at this point? Because he had 2 people in his life up to that point, and both of them just did not want to obey his wishes regarding Shibuya and went directly behind his back. Or, actually, okay, one of them went directly behind his back, the other one directly opposed him. That's kind of yike, actually. Oh, that's pretty yike. Not that, you know, he should have destroyed Shibuya or anything, but he's also, in my opinion, just a 15-year-old with god powers, so what else did you expect for him to do? Did they really just let that happen? But okay, so the point being now is that, like, Joshua at least is in a position where he can't easily integrate himself into the RG, or at least Neku's friend group. Why that is, we don't know. Joshua acts like he doesn't really care about that, but at least Hanekoma is of the opinion that that's a front. So is Joshua just pulling the strings of the game while not the composer? Because he's not a player. Unless he is. Vote on your phones now is a part of the Varia Beauties, the Pure Hearts. They do got that angel wing motif going on. This isn't really that other thing that I was just talking about. I was just thinking, like, do you think the Reaper sports are the same between districts and the UG? Because, like, if you recall, the first Reaper sport is, for Shibuya anyway, is Russian roulette. So is that just like a Joshua thing? Did he decide that? And is that why like getting guns is like way too easy? Or what? Also, like in Dream Drop Distance they had the twewy cameos and like wait, hold on a second. How long have they been recording? Oh wow. Okay, well one more thing. So like in Dream Drop Distance, like I'm definitely going to show actually exactly how many games I've not played, but I have not consumed most Final Fantasies proper. Really any Final Fantasies proper. I am a Kingdom Hearts fan before a Final Fantasy fan. I'm also a Kingdom Hearts fan before a Disney fan. So that's weird. But so that the perspective I'm coming from when I make this observation is that like so the cast of Dream Drop Distance, the Zoe cast in Dream Drop Distance, they have their cameos and stuff, and it's very interesting how different those cameos feel compared to what I know of the other Square Enix characters that get cameos in Kingdom Hearts and get to be a part of that universe, because like I hear people complain sometimes about how like it's kind of weird that they flanderized a character a certain way or portrayed another character like way edgier than they were in canon. And like for me anyway, because I went and played twewy, it didn't seem that way in Dream Drop Distance, and I don't know if that's just me, but it seemed very much like they took, because this was a property that like was so much more obscure than the rest of the Square Enix characters that would like normally get cameos, as is I guess kind of just what they decided to do with Dream Drop Distance in general. Is like, we're gonna put all these like weird ones in here, but they took a lot of care in portraying the Dream Drop Distance characters in ways that are actually mostly correct, despite being like in a completely different universe, in a very different context, and with like rushing through character development that they supposedly had. It seems like they just got developed in scenarios we didn't get to see. For instance, like Joshua and Beat, like we get to see them like actually interact in Dream Drop Distance, and we don't get to see that in twewy. They like, except for maybe in like Another Day. I hate that they named them like that so much. It's so confusing. But we don't really get to see that. But the way that they're portrayed in Dream Drop Distance, it's like that's feasible. That kind of makes sense, It's kind of interesting to see them like get along like that. And I have to wonder if that's like something they took into extra consideration with Joshua, or if they just took extra consideration of the twewy characters in general. What I mean to say is, I don't know if this is the case with most Squeenix cameo characters, but with the twewy cast, it felt like I was seeing the parts of characters that could feasibly be there, even if they were not ever in twewy proper. And that's interesting to me. If that was something they were like taking into special consideration because they were reconsidering a sequel for The World Ends With You. Like they had ideas that they wanted to put somewhere and feel out, maybe. Okay, I know this is a ramble, but actually I'm not sure if I thought that particular idea through all the way. Like, I feel like I'm onto something, but I would also need more input from other people, frankly. What am I getting at here? What I'm getting at is Dream Drop Distance was weird, but entirely worth it for the twewy characters, in my opinion. And I'm excited for Neo. And whatever ideas carried over between all of those various things that they kept trying to do with twewy. Okay, that's all for now, because I have no idea how long this will take to upload. I depart with no ceremony.